All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Closing your laptops, paying attention. I appreciate it. Yeah. We are so excited to talk with you today about building a disability inclusive culture and an accessibility first mindset. Um, I am Aubrie Lee, and I'm very glad to be joined here by Dannie Lynn Fountain. And today, we will go over some introductions. Then we'll talk about culture and mindset for the employee and for the customer. And then we'll kind of move plenty of time for Q&A. By way of introduction, I'm Aubrie. I am a brand manager at Google. I have worked at Google over the course of 10 years, and I am also the global president of Google's Disability Alliance Employee Resource Group. And I identify as disabled and proud. And my pronouns are she, her. And with that, I will pass the floor to Dannie Lynn.
Thank you so much, Aubrie. As Aubrie mentioned, my name is Dannie Lynn. I am a program manager working on internal mobility at Google, specifically our Google Developer Academy program, training non-technical Googlers how to be software engineers. My pronouns are she, her, ella. And for the purpose of this conversation, I identify as disabled, biracial, and queer. Before we get too far into today's content, we do want to create a shared understanding, a shared language, and lay out a few definitions so that you and us might be on the same page together. So first, the intention of this conversation today is to begin by designing a company culture of belonging for disabled employees and their allies, and unlocking the potential to build a more inclusive and accessible world. That shared understanding is guided by an understanding of what the words disability and accessibility mean, as well as a few associated things. So throughout our conversation today, we will use the word disability in three contexts. First, disability as a diagnosis, the medical model of disability. Second, disability as a disabling set of interactions between person and environment, which is the social model of disability. And finally, as a cultural identity, often represented by a capital D, which you'll see throughout our slides today. Disability inclusion, therefore, is the practice of ensuring an equitable and excellent experience for people with any kind of disabilities. And accessibility is an important aspect of disability inclusion. It is the practice of making information, activities, and/or environments sensible, meaningful, and usable for as many disabled people as possible. Now, why does all of this matter? First and most critically, disabled rights are human rights. As well, there are more than 1 billion disabled people globally. And this impact is massive. What is incremental for others is 10x for disabled users like us. Over to Aubrie for a conversation on what this means for your employees.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dannie Lynn. So we'll talk about building a culture of belonging for your disabled employees. And keep in mind, if your disabled employees don't feel respected, then neither do your users. And that is how your internal and external culture connect. And because disabled people number more than 1 billion globally, when you exclude one of them, it's as if you're excluding 1 billion of them. So what makes disabled people one of the most disadvantaged groups in the world? The way I think of it is the triple task. So I'll tell you a bit about what this means. So on the slide here is a photo of me trying to get by on pavement, and the pavement is a bit narrow, and a van had backed up to the point where it's blocking more than half the pavement, so I can't deny. Um, and this is a real life example of the typical task. The first part of the typical task is the physical inaccessibility. So when in-person and virtual environments present barriers to disabled people's access. The second part of the typical task is social and systemic exclusion. So infamous attitudes about disability result in stigma, stereotyping, othering, and sometimes simply just a lack of awareness about what the impact can be on disabled people. And finally, the third aspect of the typical task is advocacy labor. So often, we who are already at a disadvantage have to be the ones to advocate for change. So in this photo example, no one else had said anything, only I was there to, I had to take time out of my day to say something about this when I was already disadvantaged. I also want to use a live example from today, with all due respect, to get up here onto the stage. I had asked in advance for a ramp to the stage, and I was told that there would be a ramp. And today I arrived, and there is not a ramp, but a lift instead. I'm still glad I was able to get on the stage. I hope I'll be able to get off later. But a lift is not an equivalent experience to a ramp. So that is how the typical task manifested in my even coming here to talk with you all. So how can you all help alleviate the typical task on disabled employees and colleagues? Same way. And that is to create disability inclusive places, programs, and practices. And there's a lot of content on this slide. Pay attention because there will be a test. I'm teasing. In accessible places, 3 points there. For one, create and maintain accessible campuses and buildings. For another, use digital tools that are accessible to people with any kind of disability. For example, people using screen readers are able to access the software. Third point on the accessible spaces is to invite virtual participation. So not everyone will be able at every time to join in-person events or to join you in the office. So invite and include virtual participation so that it is part of the norm, not an exception. The second column here is about inclusive programs. So, ideally, your workplace would already be so inclusive that no one would ever have to request an accommodation. But since that isn't possible, many companies do have accommodation processes, and I want to emphasize how important it is that these accommodation processes honor one of the core tenets of the disability community, which is nothing about us without us. So, treat disabled employees not only as clients or recipients, but as decision makers in the process. And today, I was not a decision maker in the process about the risk to get to the stage. The second point about inclusive programs is to train your managers on being allies and advocates for disabled employees. And I have been very fortunate to have many supportive managers over the years, and a manager can make or break an experience for a disabled employee. The third point on the inclusive program here is to support employee resource groups. So often, when I enter a space, I find I am the only one like me in that case. But when employee resource group, I can feel more part of the majority in the room. So, appreciate your employees who are working on employee resource groups and allocate funding to supporting those groups. And the third column here is about disability inclusion and proactive practices. So, prioritize disability inclusion from the top. So your executive set the tone for your culture. And in my experience, disability inclusion has a lot of grassroots passion, which is wonderful. But executive support and sponsorship can amplify and accelerate that work. Second point under proactive practices is to hire disabled talent into a variety of roles and levels. So hire disabled managers, hire disabled executives. And finally, it's not enough to just hire disabled people into your company. Once they're there, how do they do? How are their experiences? Measure and act on data about the disabled employee experiences at work. So that is a lot about disability inclusion practices. And I will turn this into a bit more about my employee resource group at Google. Here is a summary of life from a few summers ago celebrating Disability Pride Month. So who here knows what month of the year Disability Pride Month is? Show of hands if you know. Yeah, thank you, actually. July is Disability Pride Month, and it is tied to the anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act. So at Google, we're celebrating by getting together and we put a sign on the building in the heart of Googleplex. We had a Google logo that has been adapted to demonstrate various aspects of disability culture. So we had Braille, American Sign Language, and a person not in a wheelchair. The mission of the Disability Alliance Employee Resource Group at Google is educate, celebrate, organize. So I invite each of you to educate yourself and others about disability inclusion, to celebrate disability pride and culture, and to organize your people and systems around designing cultures where disabled people can learn how they want to live. So with that, I will pass the floor to Dannie Lynn.
Thank you so much. So with that, we will transition to talking about your customers. And I want to start by anchoring on one simple truth. If your employees do not feel included, and if your employees do not have an accessible workplace, it is not yet the time to turn towards your customers. However, if it is time, here are some actions that you can take. And I want to start with a reminder that disability only becomes a tragedy when society fails to provide the things needed to lead one's daily life. Consider for a moment, have you ever had to make a phone call to solve a customer service problem? A recent experience that I had really highlights the impact of dual paths that are not treated the same. So recently, I had booked a trip to go away. And the company had a Black Friday sale 3 or 4 months after I booked the trip. They made it very clear in their promotions that if customers who had previously booked a trip contacted them, they could take advantage of the Black Friday pricing. For me, this meant thousands of dollars in savings for this trip that I was planning to take. They had 2 paths to contact customer support, via phone and via email. Phone was not accessible for me, so I reached out to them via email. I included my trip information, confirmation number, the current pricing as seen in the promotion, and had done the math for them too on just how much I believed the cost savings was. Should be pretty straightforward. It took over a month to receive a reply via email, at which time the promotion was over. Not to mention, the email reply directed me to reach out to customer service via phone, and to be frank, chastised me for not having done so. This, to the company, seems like no big deal. 2 paths of customer support, one is faster, one is slower, it is what it is. For me, this meant thousands of dollars that folks who were able to make a phone call could take advantage of in savings, but I could not. There are a number of customer service experiences and broader company customer-facing experiences that are inaccessible in similar ways. It's not just phone calls. In-store experiences include the often inaccessibility of checkout lines, product testing. Have you ever been in an electronics store and tested a speaker? Those speakers are capped at 70% of their maximum sound, which sounds great in theory, but if you have sensory concerns, even 70% in an unenclosed space is a lot of noise. Fitting rooms, and even the aisles in a store. If you've ever been in a store when they're restocking their shelves and the product to be restocked is in the center of the aisle, that aisle is pretty hard to navigate. As well, airline boarding is a great example of inaccessible experiences. Between the experience of waiting in line, the multiple points of failure that wheelchair transfers experience, and sunflower lanyards, which we will come back to. Finally, online tools. Many online tools have overly complicated onboarding flows that are not just discouraging, but also often inaccessible. Buried accessibility tools. So an online tool might have accessibility tools, but they are hard or unobvious to find. Or inaccessible customer support, as in the example I shared. So how do we evolve these experiences? How can we build for all users, especially disabled users? First, start by building for every disabled person. We must be comprehensive in creating access. It is not enough to create a tool. That tool needs to be broadly accessible, easily usable, and easily understood. You must value disabled users' feedback and compensate for their time. Aubrie talked about the advocacy labor tax. If you're going to ask disabled users for feedback, or if a disabled user brings you feedback that you want to learn more about, compensate for that time. And what is incremental for others is 10x for us. It is a massive impact to build this way. As well, solutions aren't enough. Let's go back to those sunflower lanyards for a moment. If you're unfamiliar, the Sunflower Lanyard program started a few years ago and offers a green lanyard with bright yellow sunflowers that you can get at any airport information desk across the country and around the globe. The intention of these lanyards is to provide an indicator that the person wearing the lanyard has a hidden or visible disability. The purpose of the lanyard is for airport and airline staff to see the lanyard and immediately be aware that this individual may need support and to not question their presence in places. However, if training is not comprehensive, if messaging is unclear, if training is not provided in an ongoing basis, the experience falters. So if you've provided the messaging about the sunflower lanyards to airline employees and airport employees one time, those folks are aware. However, dependent on labor turnover, who's working on a given day, not everyone might know. And then you have the experience of an individual with a hidden disability standing in line, waiting to pre-board, wearing their sunflower lanyard, and being interrogated about their presence in that line because they otherwise look visibly able-bodied. It is the continuity of the messaging and the follow-through and follow-up here that creates more accessible and inclusive experiences. A layer on top of this is executive sponsorship. It is not enough for an executive to throw their weight behind the launch of a program. Executive support is required to reaffirm commitment and importance of programs on an ongoing basis. Internal and external initiatives need executive champions not just for impact, but also for follow-through. So if you are an executive, what actions might you take? First, take visible action and make publicly available commitments. Examples of this include the Google Annual Diversity Report and the 15% Pledge. Commit dollars, not just words. Executive sponsorship with words is frequent and helpful, but making meaningful headcount, budget, product development, and similar commitments to disability and accessibility work go a lot further. And finally, follow up on commitments and initiatives. By checking in, you are signaling to your employees that this is not a one-time activity. If employees know that an executive is going to be following up, they are more likely to follow through on the work as well. Over to Aubrie for key lessons for everyone.
Thanks, Dannie Lynn. Here are some key lessons for everyone. For one, what does disability inclusion mean? It means that people with any kind of disability have an equitable and excellent experience. Second lesson, create policies, programs, and practices that reduce the simple task on disabled people. And thirdly, executive sponsorship isn't a nice to have, it is a must have, because executives set the tone for the culture and the direction of the company.